So going into the section, I will be facilitating this section with this lovely guest panelists that we have. We have some heavy hitters in here. They've been in the game for a long time, and I'm just going to be asking some questions off of parents' perspectives and off of your profession in your field of profession. We hope to get some engagement going on and build some relationships with administrators, teachers, and also families. So we're going to go ahead and dive into this discussion. Give me a brief second so I can open up my phone to pull the questions up. Okay, and so I'm going to start the questions. Well, you guys going to answer the question in the order of Tina, Melanie, Amy, and Sherry. And that's how we're going to keep it going, okay? Give me a second. I'm just writing down a little note for myself. Okay. So, first question. Starting with Tina. Name your name. Okay, so first we're going to start with your name, your program. No. Mm-mm. Okay. Well, that was the icebreaker. So let's go ahead and go to the second question. So, um, me as a parent, how do you think my child would benefit from your early learning program? So, if I'm, you know, procrastinate with getting my child in the early learning program, what would you say to me to convince me that your program is good, is a good choice for me, to see my child to the program?
Okay. To answer that question, I guess you have to answer the question about the early learning, like the benefits of early learning, um, for like the cognitive development, social, emotional development, as well, being able to get out and for them to learn how to thrive in different environments and in different communities and with different amongst different children as well. And for me, like my home daycare is like curriculum based. So for my earlier learners, I of course teach them like the basics to get them prepared for preschool or early head start and things like that. So we go over like alphabets, we go over our numbers and letters and things like that. So basically, I run my program the same way that the early learning programs do, and just like Vivian Adams or JJK, early years of learning. And I really think that it's beneficial for children, again, especially with like the social development part of it, and being able to get out and to interact with different children in different settings, away from outside of home and away from home and away from the environments that they're engaging in every day. Um, and so with that, I'll just say just offering social, emotional, cognitive development, and also with like the infants, like large and small muscle motor skills and things like that.
Good. And same question, Melanisha. If you guys need me to repeat the question, I will.
Yeah, you can repeat it.
Okay. So, as a parent who's thinking about getting my child enrolled in an early learning program, um, in your own words, how do you think my child or children would benefit from your early learning program?
Well, I think they as me as a owner slash teacher, or I think that they would benefit. I mean, first, if the parent, if she comes to try to enroll their child, I would try to make sure that I know I will provide them with everything that they want because a lot of times the parents want to ask you, do you do this? Do you do that? What kind of curriculum do you have? And different things. And I would do my best to answer some of the things, but some of the questions that they ask, I can't really give it to them because I'm not in the class with their child. But my teachers and my staff rather, they provide different things for them, the safety, curriculums for whatever ages that there are. Pretty much like infant toddler. If it was an infant, the parents trying to enroll their infants in, it's not a whole lot that you can do, but you can do certain things for the ages. And my main thing now, and I'm just gonna be real, it's about trying to do things and try to make sure they're as safe as possible. Making sure that the teachers are doing everything that they need to be doing, and I try to make sure I provide what they need for the babies. Making sure they have a healthy lunch, breakfast, or whatever they need to have, snack. That plays a big part of making sure they full. And also making sure they, do even with the toddlers, making sure, their interaction, mainly is interaction with them. A lot of stuff that you can't do, but you can go with the basic stuff, the pre-Ks that we have in Powell's Academy. That's the center I'm talking about, my own Powell's. They provide, get them ready for kindergarten, making sure they know different things when they go to the next level. That's pretty much it.
Thank you. I like how you kept it real.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
do that for real.
most definitely. And now we're gonna pass it down to Emmy.
Good evening, everyone. I am with Unipress Kinder Cottage in East St. Louis, and our program provides a safe haven space where children can thrive. We partner with families, as we know that parents are the first educators. And so you know your child better than us. You give us that individual perspective because we know every child learns differently and at a different pace. And so we want to first bring you in and get to know where you are and then collaborate on a plan to develop your child in a creative space that will help them grow and learn diversity by interacting with our multi-staff members and children in the program while developing those social skills, those cognitive skills, and those physical skills. And it's a process and we do it together.
That's what I'm talking about, Emmy. Y'all make me want to have another baby over here. Okay, and Sherry, let's hear from you.
Now, once again, I'm Cherie. I'm with SIUE
I'm
program.
sorry about that, Sherry.
And well, what I would say to the parent to let them know the importance of getting their child into early learning program, I will basically let them know that getting your child in at a young age, being around other children, it's going to, it's proven that it improves their social skills. They learn how to share, they learn how to take turns, that they and they work on their listening skills because, we're actively saying, hey, we need you to do this. And then, when they go there, and then, and I always provide options for the child because not every child is the same. So when we're doing a certain thing, that child may not be interested in doing that. So I really try to figure out what the child is interested in. And I use that to try to build on their learning. And we usually try to make sure that it's basically child-led. We know the goals that we want these children to be at, but however, we need to make it fun because we know they learn by having fun. And then me personally, I tell the parents, I'm like, I'm second mama. I'm gonna treat your baby just like that's my baby. And I make sure that they are comfortable with me. And then I'm always, talking to the parents every time they come in. I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'm greeting them. I'm making sure that they know that I'm the same always. And when I'm so-called I may be having a bad day, but I leave that bad day outside and I come in and I'm present in the classroom and make sure that their children are getting the best possible learning that they can get.
Thank you, thank you, thank you all for your lovely responses. So, another question. Now, before I get into this question, as you all know, that the parents are not in the classroom with the children. So, with that being said, you know how we drop our kid off in the classroom, then we leave out, not knowing how you all's classroom setting look. So, from each one of y'all, kind of tell us what does a day in your classroom look like, and what can the kids expect when they enter into your classroom. And we're going to start it off again with Tina, Mel, Amy, and Sherry.
Well, just like someone said earlier, with the parent, I believe that parent involvement, family involvement, whether it's the legal guardian or grandparents or just family in totality, it's important to make sure that you're bridging the gap between the classroom and between family, making families, making parents feel like they're a part of the education process, because oftentimes parents and families feel like they're left out, is I do my best to make sure that my parent don't feel like, well, I'm just dropping them off to like a second home, even though it's childcare, but making sure that they're involved in everything that their children are doing. You have to make sure that you make the parents feel like they're a part. Even though they're not actively inside of the classroom with you, there are activities and there are things that you can send home with the children, so that the parents can work on those things with the children too. And like for me, I choose different ways of communication with my parents, because some are tech savvy, some are not, some are social media, some are, I can make sure I communicate with them in various ways to make sure that I keep them updated on the things that we're learning. I also, on my business page, I make sure that if whatever we do for the day, this is what we're doing for the week. You can send home, there's various ways that you can connect and bridge the gap between parent and school, or parent and childcare setting, regardless of whatever the setting is. It's as simple as at the beginning of the year, sending a welcome letter. Hi, my name is Miss Tina Branch Williams, and this is what I plan for us to learn this year. These are my targets for the classroom as a whole. And like someone said earlier, yes, do you make different the lesson plan, and you go back and for me, I go back and I see like what the kids are picking up on, what they haven't picked up on at the beginning of the year, what they already know, so that you can build on what they know, and then you can go from there. And then, like somebody else said, have a conversation with the parents. You have to, in order for the child to thrive, the whole family has to thrive. If home is not thriving, then guess what? Children that comes inside of the classroom, inside of the child care settings, they won't be able to thrive either, because they're worried and consumed with home. So you have to make sure that you get that peace with your parents. Do you become make them feel like they're welcome, make them feel like, for me, it's a child care setting, but every one of my parents feel like we're family. I treat them as if they're family. I let them know that I'm concerned about them just as much as I am about their children. If they come in with a different persona, or if they seem off, I send them text, hey, how you doing today? You seem off today. Let your parents know that you're not just in it for the money, that it's not just all about the kids, but hey, I know that I have to make sure that mom, dad, grandma, and whoever their guardian is, that they're okay too, so that then we can deal with the family and with the child, and the child can thrive in a better way, you know, by bridging the gap. I also make sure that I send home, like I make like portfolio folders. You can do like portfolio folders with your parents or with your children, to show them like what we're learning, what we're doing. And then, like she said, make sure that you're meeting them, each child, because they are individuals, and we have to make sure that we treat each child as if they are individuals, because some learn auditory, some learn by seeing visual, some learn by hands-on. So you have to make sure that your curriculum, that whatever your lesson plan is, that is meeting the needs of each child individually. Even if you are teaching collectively, you have to make sure that you have something within your plan to make sure that it's meeting the learning needs and the learning abilities of each child. And so I just try to make sure that I make it my business to involve my parents and make sure that they feel like they are a part and not just like, oh, well, this is just where they're going. Just making them like bridging the gap so that parent participation can be more, and so that they can be comfortable with you, and so that you can get to know the customs and the culture of all of your families.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And now let's hear from Melanisha.
Can you repeat the question again?
Uh, yes, I can. Just give me a
Okay.
few. I'll open the questions back up. Oh,
Okay.
yes. So the question was, um, what what does it or what would it look like when I bring my child to your classroom?
Mm-hmm.
What can the children expect?
What can
So
the children
that's a,
expect or the parents expect?
no, the children. What does a day in your classroom look like? Like, how is your classroom settings? Like, what's your norms, everyday norms when the kids come in? And when the kids come into your classroom, what is it that they can expect? Because it's like an everyday routine. So
Okay.
I want you to. Mhm.
Okay. Pretty much. Once again, it's kind of hard for me to answer that because I'm all over the place. But what I do tell my teachers, go by their daily schedule. The good morning, hey, good morning, the good morning song. Going to that's after breakfast. Your daily routine from breakfast to your day. Go by your daily schedule. When you do your circle time. Um, and they pretty much know their schedule, especially when you do it on a daily basis. They know exactly what comes next after each other. Um, I was just speaking when I was directly into a classroom. Um, it's pretty much get them to, because sometimes they have bad days when they come in, they don't want to come. So you got to first get them and comfort them and let them know, so the parents can be, so you can let the parents know they're gonna be okay. They having a bad morning. Because sometimes the parents won't even leave; they just stand there and look at you. So you got to pretty much get the kid, pretty much calm, so they can go, so they can feel that you have the love for their child, so they can go ahead and go to work and be easy. Because a lot of parents call back, hey, if she's still crying, they'll want to come back and get them. So you got to kind of make sure you got them together. Everything is okay. They come. I can send you a picture of them. It's basically communicating. Anyway, communicating with, that's the number one thing. They like to be communicating. They like to know what's going on. Even if they have an accident, they like to know right then and there what's going on with their child, so they can be prepared at home. And a lot of times we don't know what's going on at home, why they come in with different mood. They come in different mood swings sometimes. Just like grown-ups. So the babies do the same thing. So we got to make sure to let them know that their child gonna be safe. I'm gonna do my best. You can even call and say, hey, they doing pretty good. Now, I gotta calm down now. Or you welcome to call back to check on your child. Um, it's pretty much doing the same thing, staying on the schedule, consistency of whatever you're gonna do with your child in that class or wherever you have them at. It's just about being on the same thing. Not today you're doing this, and tomorrow you're doing that. It's gonna confuse them. You got to be on the same. And I do talk to let myself. I always say, hey, just do whatever you're gonna do the same thing with them, so they can know. I personally like to do different things. I like to. I don't like to stay at the same level. I like to grow in certain areas wherever, if I'm not doing this right, or I might even have a bad moment myself, and I might say, hey, I didn't. Oh no, let me call and apologize. Maybe I didn't approach her right. I didn't speak to her right. Because sometimes you have those moments. So you also got to be able to communicate with them as well for yourself. Um, and that's pretty much it for real.
Thank you, Melanisha. And Amy, same question.
We like to incorporate schedules and routines, pretty much what everyone says. So I won't rehash that. But we also do individual planning We also have a new digital way of communicating with families. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Brightwells, but we are incorporating that. So that way the parents have instant messages. They can communicate back through that. So teachers aren't using their personal cell phones to communicate back and forth. They can upload pictures. They can see what happens. We also have other social media outlets like Facebook, and we have a website. Outside of the daily routines, and we also service infant toddlers 2, 3 to 5 in school age. And so schedule routines, lesson plannings, and activities vary according to the developmental ages of the classrooms we serve. And we also do personal individualization on lesson planning. So every day doesn't look the same because we are all human and we are going to do things differently. And so teachers go with the flow. If we were going to talk about clouds and the kids wanted to talk about rain, we go with the flow. If we had on Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, but they wanted to read Brown Bears, we go with the flow. We extend learning where they are. And that's when you learn the best. That's when you learn the most. And we have a lot of materials that we can use to increase the children's learning. So we are reaching those multifaceted learners, whether they're kinetic learning or they're learning through visual or auditory. We combine all those learning techniques to enrich the children's learning experience. So it extends it. And then we wrap those informational things that we do in a classroom, share it with the family on different communication sites so it could be reiterated in the home. And so we try to be creative. We share those tips and tricks with the family. And so the child is not developing just within our care, but in the care of the home. And then that's the best way the child thrives.
Good, good. And for the parents that's on here, if there's any questions that you guys have for the panelists, please put in the chat box, and we make sure that they get answered. Okay. So we're gonna pass it down to Cherie.
There you go. Okay, so the child can expect to come in every single day with me with my smiling face. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be welcoming. I'm going to make sure that, if the child has come in, they're crying, I'm loving on that child, and I'm letting mom know, mom, they are going to be okay. I promise they're going to be okay. When you leave, they, this might be, something daily they do. I promise you, when you leave, they're playing, they're having a good time, they're learning from the moment they come in the classroom. We have our picture scheduled so they know exactly what they can go over. They don't have to be able to read. They go over and look at the picture and they can tell me what we get ready to do. I have jobs for them to make sure that they know that, that they're a part of this classroom community. They know that they're going to be fed, and again, like someone already said, is when if the child is not interested, a majority of the children is not even interested in what you're doing, and they are interested in something over here. As she said, we're gonna go with the flow. We're gonna go with that, because a child, you cannot force a child to learn something. No, you can try to redirect all day long, but if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it, and that's that. And so I've learned to just hands off. Okay, and I give them some options. We can do this, we can do that, and then they tell me what they want to do, and that's what we do. And we're still learning at the same time.
Cool, cool. And there was a question that was put in the chat box, and you guys can answer this yes or no. So do you guys have cameras in your classrooms? And if so, does the parents have access to watch those cameras while they're not, around the kids? While they not have access, to monitor the cameras even when they're not in the classroom with you all? And it's just a yes or no question.
We have cameras in the building. However, due to HIPAA and safety laws, and we want to protect all children's privacy, so we wouldn't be open to all families to see a classroom environment. However, if there's concerns or things that just needs to be shared, we can run cameras back and individually show parents things. So just for the protection, we wouldn't show that. But there are videos that can be uploaded individually on our digital app called Brightville. So if parents wants to see certain things that just stands out for the day, the teacher can videotape it and upload it and send it to the family.
Good, good. Anybody else? I see Medinecha putting in the chat box, no.
Okay, we do have cameras in our classroom. However, the parents do not, they have to go through a certain protocol to have access to that because of, again, because of certain privacy laws and things like that. They just can't go in there and have access to it. Not even like the center coordinator and all of those have access to it. You have to go through a certain protocol. If you think something has happened, then they will go back through and watch those things. And then if need to, the parents can watch them or whatever. But however, if the parents want to know what their children are doing in the classroom, we can videotape their child, with their permission and send it to them saying, hey, this is what your child is doing today. We're trying to keep them in the loop.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. All righty. So now, the next question. So I know you guys spoke a lot about, the child's curriculum and whatnot, and we all know that children learn different. So, with that being said, how do you all support different learning needs? How do you guys support the child's different learning needs? And we can start off with Tina.
We support all children different learning needs by offering learning in different ways. Some children, I know now, like with the early learners, is learn through play. You could do like the hands-on activities with them. It just really depends on that child when you're doing like observation. If you're observing them during like group time, or if you're observing them when they're having one-on-one time with you, or when they're playing. So I think that to really de-infiltrate the curriculums, you really have to pay attention to like the children that you are servicing, the children that you have in your classroom, because again, like you said, all of them learn differently. So in order to put together a curriculum for all of my children, I have to really be attentive to like their learning styles. Like, okay, maybe they caught on math pretty easy, but maybe if we're doing language, then it's maybe not be real easy. And for me, like when I'm giving, I've learned like when you're giving instructions, to make the instructions or to begin off the lesson with explaining to the children what we'll be learning today. Like today we'll be working with the letter A or the letter whatever, and then reference different things out of their everyday lives that begins with the letter A. So it's really like taking what they already know and bringing what they know into what they don't know, to get them familiar with what you're doing. So like I said, it can be through play, it can be through hands-on, it can be through group, because a lot of children learn better from like peers. So it could be peer learning. So I think it just all depends on the children and what you observe during your teaching times, that you observe it, then you go back and then you readjust your curriculum so that you can make sure that you're hitting the needs of each child individually.
Amen. An issue. What technique, to support the the children, different children's learning needs.
Like Miss Tina said, they all learn differently. It's just pretty much kind of evaluating the child, each one of them, because they like some of them are like make like the one-on-one thing, some of them like group doing different things in a group activities versus you know, you kind of breaking them up, or you could do even like in a circle time, you pretty much would know which one can do this, which one can do that. But you never want to make none of them feel like, this will know more than that one, or that would make them feel like they, you know, they're not doing good. You're still gonna praise them anyway. But I just think you just really just gotta pay attention to see, you know, what, because and we can't push them, you know, they will learn it when they get ready. And I just think and a lot of times they learn a lot of times now, while they having fun, like playing with, doing different things, colors, in songs, they like doing that kind of stuff. It's just different times. It's a little different now because they're so hooked on electronics now that like they don't want to sit down long to do anything. So you gotta kind of do things to boost it up now. And I think like even singing and dancing with you know, engaging them to just have fun but still learning as well. That's it pretty much.
Thank you, Anisha. And Amy.
Individualization is very important in our program in all our age groups. We know, especially for our 3 to 5, where there's a lot of interaction, our toddlers and twos, a lot of one-on-ones. Small groups is important. As Tina said earlier, they learn from their peers, but that interaction, extended questions from the teachers, and engaging in where they are. We also do assessments because that owns in on where they are from a larger scale. We also have our parents do screening, which is an assessment as well. So it partners where they see at home, is the child talking more there? What can we do to increase it here? Is the child more interested in hands-on or computers, or are they more observant? How do we reach this child, meet them where they are, and take them to the next level? What materials do we need to provide? Are they more comfortable with their peers, or are they more comfortable working side by side? Just learning that child, writing that individual plan, and then living it out each day until they reach their goals.
Hi, Sherry.
So we have the parents do assessments on what they feel that their children can do because the parents know them best. And then we have teacher assessments, and we're always looking and seeing what the child knows. I go over and I just play with them, you know. We have color blocks, and so I'll just go over and sit with them. I'm like, you know, just building with them. What color is this? You know, just, you know, making it not so stressful and not, you know, just making it, you know, all about play. And because usually whenever you like, it's like you test them, that's when all of a sudden, you know, they like freeze up, and things that they ordinarily would know, all of a sudden now, you know, it's like they don't know it because, you know, they've been put on the spot. We've all have been there where we've been put on the spot, and all of a sudden, you know, you draw this blank and you like, oh my God, I know this, but, you know, but right now I just can't even recall that information. That's stress. So you never want to do that to a child. So we, like I said, we do the different assessments, and then we do individualized planning to make sure these children are getting what they need, getting their needs met. We do 101, we do small group play, we do music. You know, everybody loves music. So, you know, we do a lot of learning through music and movement. And so if you're doing a lot of these things all together, so I'm hearing it, I'm moving, you know, I got some hand gestures that's going along with it, you know, so that's just basically, you know, just reiterating what it is that the child is supposed to be learning. And then so they're getting it on these different levels. They get it on the cognitive level, they get it on, you know, they getting it on the kinetic level, you know, they you know, the social emotional level. So we're tying everything, you know, that's why the domains, we know the domains intertwine anyway. And so you just want to make sure that you just putting all of that in there. So they may not get it this way, but they're gonna get it this way. They might not get it this way, but they're gonna get it this way.
Yes, I totally agree. And Sherry, you also brings me to not the next question, but to a question that was put in the chat box. So if you discover that a child might have a learning disability or might be struggling to well, not so much as keep up with other kids, because I'm a strong believer by saying that kids do not learn the same.
That's right.
But just the problem itself that this child might have a disability. How do you? And this is all of y'all. How do you all make sure that you supporting that child, but also making that child feel that they are not different? Like, not looking at that child no different than the other child.
So we just give the child, just an extra help that they need. We will write a referral and we'll talk to, mom and say, this child may not be learning to the best of their ability. And we let them know that I don't think that there is such thing as a disability. I call it a different ability, because each child have their strength, each child have their weakness. So we want to build on their weaknesses. I'm sorry, build on their strengths, and then we help them in the areas where they're weak in by doing a referral. And I usually have some parents who are kind of hesitant about their child receiving special services. That's what, when they call it special services, they feel like you're calling their children special. And I let them know, no, that's not what that means. That just means your child needs a little bit more help in that area. And if we catch it now and we do this now, your child can catch up and even surpass what is expected of that child. And then when I tell it to them that way, they're like, okay, they hear it differently instead of hearing that special, special needs. No, that's not what we're saying. There's nothing wrong with your child. Each child is different and they learn at a different pace. However, if we give this child some extra help right now, they will get there. And the parents.
Thank you. And do anybody else want to weigh in on the question that was asked and that was put in the chat box? That's on the
I will.
panel.
I will.
Mhm.
I agree too. I think the removing of labels, because just like she was just saying, a lot of parents have problems with labels, with their child being labeled as special need or special education. So they become more reluctant to get the child the help that they need. So again, it all goes back to communication, the way that you communicate the information that you have. That's why it's good to build the portfolios. That's why it's good to have the parent involvement. So you could say, so we did this assessment at the beginning of the year, and this is where Johnny was at the beginning of the year. And now we're midway through the year, and we tested Johnny on the same skills and strategies that we tested in the beginning. And Johnny didn't hit the mark, but that's okay, because this is what we're going to do. You give them the information, but you also go back and you reassure them that if we work together, then Johnny will get where Johnny needs to be. And just like she was saying, everybody is special in their own way. Everybody's special. God created us all special, and everybody is different. God intended for it to be that way. We just have to make sure that we are delivering the information to the parents where they don't be shamed, because when the parents is shamed of the labels or shamed of the titles, then they're reluctant, and then a child suffers because the child don't get the resources. And then making sure that we have the necessary resources inside the program, and if we don't have them within the program, that we have the information and different resources where we can have them like outsourced. And then that's where the development of IEPs come in, and then a team being put together to be able to meet the needs of each one of that child individually. And then I believe, just like Cherie was saying, is really the way you communicate and making the parent feel okay, because the child will never know that they're lacking or that they're different until we label them, or until other people make them feel another kind of a different kind of way. And so that goes, I believe that too ties into like your rules of your classroom, the things that you develop at the beginning of the year with your children, with your students. And when you're developing like classroom rules, have the children get involved with them, because then that brings them back and give them responsibility, accountability. Hey, well, this is what we said we would do. We don't talk about our friends. We don't do whatever like that. And children, what I've seen through like my study and me going in the classrooms to do like my teacher certification and get my hours that I need, children are more prone to it. And even with me having like special need children within my home daycare, like my children don't treat them differently because the atmosphere, the environment is not set for them to treat them differently. So I believe that it begins with the head, which would be the teacher. How do you interact, or how do you respond to what's going on inside of the classroom? That's how your children will respond. So you don't let your children know that they're different, and then they won't treat them differently. And then don't make that child feel like they're different either, because I've noticed too with children where this child has ADHD, or this child, you'll see a child, I take blah, blah, blah. If you put that in their head, then guess what? That's what they go. And that's not where you want them to become stuck at. No, this is what they say that you are. This is what the world said about you, but God says that you're a masterpiece. God said that you're different. So that's how I'm going to engage each and every one of my children, just that way, in accordance to what God said that they were. We're going to work through this. And if we partner together, mom, dad, if we partner together and we partner with the different resources and sources that we have there, I am sure when we go back to do this assessment again at the end of the year, then Johnny will hit the mark, because we're going to all work together as a team.
Period. And she said what she said. So before we go to the next question, we have Gwen, who would like to say something. Gwen?
Sorry, I was still on mute. Okay, so I am an educator in the district, and I'm hearing what you're saying, and I understand how you all want the children to be inclusive and, the learning environment, make them feel like they're not different. But my concern that I had is one of the students that I was teaching, he has autism. He's autistic. And what I was very protective of him, because the child was allowed to just roam free in the school, because from my understanding, I don't know who, whether or not it's right or wrong. This when I asked the question, I asked what's going on with him. Why is he just walking the halls? Because he clearly couldn't engage socially with people. He, but however, I asked what was going on, and I was told that the parent, it's my understanding, don't know if it's true, but the parent didn't want him labeled as autistic. But the issues that he was having was causing a lot of problems, because he's roaming the halls and he really needed like an aid or something to help him get through the halls. And I don't know if the parent just felt like, my son is very smart, autistic children, they have like certain areas they excel in, and he was really good, for my understanding, in math or something. So she don't know if it was her. Okay, I'm going to keep saying this and stressing it. But it was to my understanding that the mom did not want him to be labeled as autistic. So he was having a lot of challenges in that school because of something. And sometimes it's like, even though we don't want to hear the truth, sometimes the truth is just what it is. It's the truth. Sometimes that unfortunately happens, where the child is actually different. So how would you all approach that parent in that situation? Because you can't sugarcoat it.
Well, when I'm saying what I mean by remove the labels, I'm not saying that you ignore the problem at hand. I'm saying, first of all, you have to know how to. That's part of, like, I think at the beginning of the year is really imperative that you get to know your children. Like, when you get your files, you go through your files, you see what the child, what was their mark, they benchmark the year before, and you work from there. And I believe that it's really important that you do the groundwork at the beginning of the year, so that you can bridge, because we have to find a way to bridge the gap, because you have some parents, just like you said, that they know that it's a problem, and because they don't want them to be labeled, then they don't want the resources. It's not because you're not trying, but it's just like with in a classroom with our curriculum. If that curriculum is not working with a child, we don't just give up on a child. We have to continue till we find something that works. And so I think it's the way that you finding a way to come off like this is his strong point. He's really good in math. So let's try to see how we can take his strong point and do what's needed. Now, do I agree with him roaming the hallways? No. And that's what I mean too about removing the label, because you're right. Children can be artistic in some areas, but they still can function. And for him to be inside of a regular school, being able to sit inside of a regular classroom, that means that he can still follow regular rules. And then just like any other kid, when they're having, what are your consequences? What are your classroom rules? What are the things like that you set? And just because you are artistic or just because you have an IEP, that doesn't mean that you are not subject to the classroom rules, or you're not subject to consequences. Maybe will his consequences look different? Maybe will how you approach the situation look different for him? Well, yeah, because he reacts and responds differently in that way. But what I'm saying, like somebody said earlier, just not singling him out is what I mean by, or singling a child out is what I mean by removing the labels. But just like with any child, even with the artistic, like they have a right to be educated. They have a right to be educated within the school. That's their right. And so we just, as educators, we just have to find ways to do it. And I believe in finding ways to do it, like the professional developments that we have to have. Those are some more professional developments that needs to come within the educational system, within a profession. We can't keep on educating our children or evoking learning the same way that it was done 20 years ago, because education is study evolving. Our children are study evolving, and they're learning different. And so I think that a part of that is that like our professional developments have to look different. Like, how do we deal with this? If this is what it is, how do we deal with it? What are trainings? What trainings do we receive, or what trainings are available? So when we do have parents that refuse the resources, or when we do have parents that refuse the IEP or the strategies and the lessons and things like that we have put in place, then how do we move forward with that? What do we do? What does that look like? I believe that falls again on like the education, the profession as a whole, and school districts as a whole, because every school district is different. So what does the administrator say? Like, what do they have put in place for that? Because those children have a right to be educated, they have a right to not be labeled, and they have a right to be offered the resources. So I just believe that it goes back to like what every administration, what every classroom, what every school district superintendent or whatever, what does that look like for the school? What are we putting into it? Like, what are we using our fundings for? Because school is let out early, I know in District 189 and in different districts, because they have professional development day. So what does those professional developments look like? Are they also including the artistic children? Are they also including children with disabilities, children with dyslexia, because they have a right to be educated in our districts? What are those professional developments looking like? So I believe that more training, if we have more training and more professional developments to answer those questions and to educate us as educators, as providers, and even as parents, then it makes the process even easier, because it gives us the language and it gives us the ability and ways to communicate with the parents.
Okay. So another question, and yeah, we are really, engaged. We have some good conversations going on, but we still got some more questions that we gotta get to. And I'm just gonna read this question. So they will fall under neglect, right? Because they are not getting the help. Because they are not. It was just a comment. I can't pronounce your name. I'm sorry. So they would fall under neglect, right? Because they are not getting the right help for their child. So there's just a comment that someone had put in by saying if they refuse the services that's offered to them, they would be considered as neglect, child neglect, right?
I don't think that they're neglecting the child. I think that the problem with a lot of special needs and disability is the parent being okay with uh I really believe that it's just a label, y'all. Like nobody wants their child labeled. Nobody wants their child to, because with labels, you know, in like when I was in school with labels, oh, how classroom 169 or whatever, that's for the special needs, that's what dummies are. So parents are really afraid of that. They're afraid of the bullying, they're afraid of the labels, they're afraid of the name calling, they're afraid of what their child will go through in their everyday interaction outside of what they go through. Because we think as adults we go through heck and hot water, but children go through things every day. They go through bullying. So if my child is already bullying because they don't look the same, they don't talk the same, they don't act the same, and then you mean to tell me you want to say that my child is autistic, that I really believe that a lot of parents and a lot of families are just afraid of the labels, because especially now school looks totally different. Like children are bullied because they're artistic. Children are made fun of because they're artistic. And not even and not even, and it's because of ignorance and because of the lack of knowing, the lack of knowledge. Then what do you do? So I believe that it's really like the labels. And if we can find ways to communicate and find ways to make sure that our parents know that we're going to protect, that their children are protected so that they can get the resources and get the help that they need, then they will be more comfortable with it. I just really believe that it's the label, because nobody wants their children not to be educated. Nobody wants their children to come into the fullness of who they were created to be. However, how do I allow that to happen? Or how can you tell me you can do this and my son or my daughter get an IEP and they don't be bullied and they don't come home tomorrow and tell me so-and-so said this and that about me, and then they slip into depression, and then you have to worry about kids kill themselves because of things like that. So again, I feel like, where's the training for it? You know what I mean? Like, how do we communicate? How do we ensure safety and make sure that our parents feel like their child is safe so that they can safely allow their children to be educated and to be reached and taught on the level that they need and deserve to be reached and taught on?
And before we go to the next question, I just want to add on to your point, Tina, by using this metaphor. But if you guys will follow me, my point, you guys remember that movie Forrest Gump, right? And you remember Forrest Gump with the braces, but his mom will always say that you are no different from these other kids. You would not go to a special school. You would go to the school as other children. But that proves my point by this mother refused for her son to think that he was different. You're going to be treated the same. You're going to get taught the same, and you're going to learn the same as these other children. So I just, was adding on to your point by using that movie.
And that's their right. That's their right. They have a right to be educated.
Absolutely.
They cannot be denied the right. So then it falls on us as educators, and not just us as educators. It falls on like the rules and regulations that have been set forth for education. It falls on it, and then us too as educators. Because if we sit back and we keep our mouths closed, and we sit back and we continue to allow education to show up the way the education been showing up, then guess what? We just as much fault as the parent is, because you have a voice. You're in the classroom with those children, and you know why the parent don't want their child to be labeled or why they don't want the resources. So then what do we do as educators and as parents to make education look different, to make education look like what 20th century education should look like and not what it looked like way back when? Like, education is evolving. Our children are evolving. The needs are different. And so what do we do? As a culture, as teachers, as parents, what do we do? How do we use our voice to advocate for our children?
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Tina, we're gonna because I know we are really cutting into time, so I'm gonna switch it up a little bit by putting this question towards towards Melanisha, Amy, and Sherry, and then to you. So this next question that we're going to go into, well, as we, talk a lot about, children engaging, child engagement and whatnot. So let's focus this next question on parent engagement. So, we as parents, how do you welcome or engage your families? And let's start this off with Melnisha, Amy, Sherry, and T, and then you, Tina.
Um, hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes,
you.
yes,
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Um, so this is about the parents engaging. How do we engage the parents?
yes.
Um, pretty much. Welcoming. Just I mean, having a good. You know, sometimes you have to have a real good vibe. You know, they love you to be sweet. When they coming in, especially when they coming in to enroll their child. Um, they can when they drop them off, they want to make sure they safe. They they're gonna they're gonna have a nice time. They don't have to worry about anything, and we have to let our parents know that we're gonna do our best. Even I tell the teachers, like I said, I'm not really directly in the classrooms. Like I'm all over. Like if someone is out there, so I'm kind of back and forth everywhere right now. But I do know that just making sure that they want to make sure the babies are safe. They want to make sure when you know the how you gonna you know your communicating skills with them and let them know that everything's gonna be okay. They can go on and have a good day. Um, just being there for them actually, and like I said, and communicating with them, and that's it pretty much.
Thank you. And Amy,
Yes, parent engagement begins at intake. The time they call, we start that relationship, right? And then we have questionnaires in our applications that extend those questions to get to know the parents, the way they believe about early childhood education,
This
what they
this
expect from
this this,
us,
this what
and what they need from us, and how we can collaborate together to make the best plan and growth for that child. And then it just continues as the child continues in our program. And when they are transitioning into kindergarten, we want to do collaboration with their local kindergarten program and walk them through those steps and do activities that show them what kindergarten readiness looks like, and elementary consists of. Even preparing parents that, being on time for a bus is important, preparing both the child and the parent for those transitions. And so it's a golden thread of services that we provide from whatever age we have. And we have many families that grow with us throughout the years. And we start that engagement at intake, and then it grows with us.
thank you. And Cherie,
Yes, sure. Okay, so let me say this before I answer that question. I believe that most parents really want the best for their children. They want their children to be best educated. Um, you just have to keep trying to find a way to get through to the parent that the child really, needs this. And I really believe that just don't give up. If you don't give up, that the parent will hear you, and you just have to make the parent be comfortable with the situation. But also just the engagement. We have a family engagement specialist, and she does every single month. She has a parent meeting, so she's putting information out there. She's educating the parents on different topics that she may feel that the parents need to hear, and things like that. Then we have someone that comes out that we are in collab with the U of I extension. And so, we do education that way as well. We send home flyers, we send home newsletters, we text with them, we're on social media with them, whatever form, wherever we meet them, wherever they are. So if they're not tech savvy, then we will actually literally hand them a piece of paper. We want to make sure that everybody's included, that everybody knows exactly what's going on at all times. We print out lesson plans, we print out, different things, and we're always making sure the parent know that, we have something going on. We have this, we have that. And then we also try to include the parent by saying, hey, this is our study, if you want to send in this, that, and the other, so they feel like that they're a part of this. We're just always making sure that that our parents know that we are a family. And we have gotten, some pretty good responses, from that. And we try to make sure that each child that is represented in the center knows how much they are loved. We even, send in pictures from home. We will put them up all over the classroom so that we know that this is our family. This is our family at school. This is our at home family. We're all just, one big happy family.
Okay, so we almost cut into time because y'all know Zoom be so disrespectful. So, Tina, I'm so sorry, but this next question I would like to hear from all of you all. Okay, so the last question. So, as an early learning teacher, that's trying to, convince parents to get their children enrolled in early learning programs. When you're doing this, what success and challenges would you tell parents um, that you wish that parents knew when getting their children enrolled in early learning programs? So basically, just to shorten it, what are the pros and cons with getting children with the parents that you wish their parents knew when getting their children enrolled in early learning programs? And we could use like just one or two sentences. So the pros and the cons. Anybody could jump in.
What was the question again?
So it was the question to the panelists. What 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 successes and challenges do you wish that parents knew when getting their children enrolled in early learning programs? Panelists,
Okay, so a challenge that I personally would say to the parents was that letting them know that we're not their enemy, that we genuinely care about them as well as their children, and that we need to work together. Let's do this thing. Let's get this together. Let's get these children educated. We are a family.
I would say one of the challenges and things that I want to encourage families to know is that continuity of care is important. Coming and attending and getting your child on a schedule and a routine is so key for their learning. So, bringing them sporadically and, not engaging with us, not getting on the digital devices and asking questions with your teachers and having those relationships with your teachers is the vital part of their learning. So, come in, ask questions, send messages. If things looks confusing, ask us how we can support us. Read the material we share, and be a voice for your child. So if something doesn't feel right to you or shows up for you, say it out loud because we are all about growing together.
well said, Amy. And Melanie Shantina.
Mine would be that I wish parents will know that education just don't fall on one side of the spectrum. That educating a child, it takes
A team.
the teacher. Yep, it's a team. It's the teacher, it's the parents, and it's the community. So for me, it's bridging the gap. Bridging the gap of parents. Some parents thinking that it's the teacher's responsibility to educate. Like somebody said, when children first learn how to speak and things like that, it begins at home. And so after home, it's bridged out. So it's stepping stones and it's just building onto it. So I just really wish that parents understand that education don't just fall on one part of the spectrum, and that childcare is not babysitting. In childcare, you have to educate. I ain't your babysitter, and a lot of parents get that confused. They get childcare confused with babysitting, and it's so much more to childcare than just me sitting and watching TV with somebody's kids. So just really knowing the foundation and fundamentals of what childcare is, and also knowing that education is teamwork, is a bridging the gap between home and school.
And last but not least, Melanisha.
Mhm. Well, actually, Tina she's
I know,
really
right?
did it. She really took it. She did put me in her. But anyway, it's just like you said, it works on both ends. The parents have to do their part, the teachers have to do their part, and we become like one big family where not just it, because a lot of times, especially nowadays, they think that everything's supposed to be done at the daycare or school or wherever. And when they go home, they don't have nothing else to do. It's just easy for them to go do their daily thing, and everything is left on the caregivers or however. And the main thing is too is to communicate. Hey, let us know. Hey, they might not be doing too good today. This thing it's about communicating. Period on everything. Communicating that that the staff, let the parents let us know so we can know how to deal with their child that day. Because every day is different for them and for us too. And that's
Right,
it. That's it.
right. Man, um, this was a good session. I really enjoyed facilitate this session. I'm gonna give you guys my Facebook page, the address, so we can continue this conversation. But until then, I thank you guys for your feedback. I thank you guys for your participation. We're going to close this section out, and we're going to turn it over to Danielle so we can do the closings. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I would like to thank all of our panelists, everyone that came, all parents, family members that participated today. You guys are appreciated. And as you know, this was our first session of 3. So we have a second session coming up on July the 20th from 6 to 8. So please attend, you guys. I will be looking for you guys. Invite other East St. Louis families and parents to participate. And did anybody else want to say anything before we close it out? Because we have like 2 minutes.
Yeah, this is my last time on here. It's Melanisha.
Melanisha, you come back, please.
I don't know. Kaylin tricked me.
What? How did I trick you? We're gonna have to talk about this.
I told her I wasn't really a talker like that.
But you did so good though. You did really good.
This whole section was good.
Thank you.
Yes.
Look, I just want to say that I never sent my children to school expecting the teacher to only be teaching my child. I was making sure that I was involved. I knew what was going on. I knew what their homework was. If my child was having trouble at school, if I didn't know it, I had a book. I actually looked it up. I learned it, and then I taught it to my child where my child could understand it.
Yeah, that's not the case nowadays,
Yes.
But thank you, everyone. If you want to end this session out, and please do your evaluations, you guys. We'll be sending an evaluation to your email. Let us know how we did and what you don't like, what you like.
What can be improved?
Yes, what can be improved, you guys. So please do your evaluations and come back to session 2, which is July the 20th, 6 to 8. See you then.
All right.